Good morning and welcome to the fascinating world of birds. Today we'll be talking about a very interesting bird species with our very own bird enthusiast, Chanith Wijeratne. So Chanith, which bird species will you enlighten us about today?
So last week I talked about one of the rare desert raptors, the grey falcon, and this week I'll be talking about a similarly rare bird and one that I actually haven't had the luck to see for myself yet, although hopefully soon. This bird is the letter-winged kite.
That's a strange name. Where does this bird species get its name from?
The reason it's called the letter-winged kite is because there's actually a big letter W under the wings. You see, this bird looks very similar to a very common bird, the black-shouldered kite, which is in its own right quite a beautiful bird, a pale white raptor with black shoulder marks on the wings. But the main way the letter-winged kite differs from the black-shouldered kite is that when it lifts up its wings, you'll see on the underwing a dark letter sort of W pattern. And when it flies, this is quite obvious. Of course, the bird has to show its underwing for this, so you can imagine this causes quite some frustration where you're staring at a black-shouldered kite, waiting for it to confirm that it's not the much rarer letter-winged. The other way to tell the two apart is that the black-shouldered kite has a sort of black stripe around the eye that extends behind the eye, and in letter-winged kite it instead just sort of circles the front of the eye, giving them a very weird bug-eyed alien-like appearance. They're very nice birds.
Now Chanith, whereabouts in Australia or in Melbourne would our viewers be able to find the letter-winged kite?
The letter-winged kite, as I alluded to earlier, is mostly a bird of inland Australia, particularly sections of South Australia and Queensland, though it's been recorded in pretty much every state except Tasmania. The reason that despite this every state but Tasmania has a record, despite the main resident range of the bird being quite restricted, is because the letter-winged kite is very nomadic and eruptive. What this means is when, for instance, there's a mouse plague in the inland, letter-winged kites who eat mice notice their numbers boom suddenly, and so all of a sudden you can have letter-winged kites appearing in very weird places. For instance, though Victoria has had very few records of grey falcon, there are quite a few records of letter-winged kite. I believe there was one last year from a reliable observer, and actually make that two last year from reliable observers. And in 2017 there was one bird that stayed a few days and quite a few people went and twitched being to chase a specific bird pretty much. So although the letter-winged kite is normally restricted to this small area of South Australia and Queensland, it can really turn up anywhere, so you really have to keep your eyes out.
Chanith, would you be able to comment or elaborate on their hunting patterns? Is there anything special about it?
Yes, actually. So the black-shouldered kite, sort of the letter-winged kite's commoner cousin, is a diurnal bird that hunts during the day. But for whatever reason, the letter-winged kite decided that it wasn't alright with this state of affairs, and it's a nocturnal hunter. Supposedly they hunt totally differently to black-shouldered kites as well, where black-shouldered kites will hover over a field, fluttering their wings to stay in one spot. The letter-winged kite sort of glides over grassland, almost like a much smaller, much paler owl.
That's so interesting, Chanith. Well, that brings us to the end of our segment today. Thank you so much for your time and for discussing the letter-winged kite with us and our viewers at home.